Yo, it's P, and I have a different type of video today. This one will be dealing with the best devices you can buy for Fortnite Mobile. These devices are Android based since that is the only way to directly play and download Fortnite. The devices themselves are split into 4 categories in this video. Budget, strong devices performance-wise that are under $400. Performance, the best devices on the market for playing Fortnite Mobile, being extremely consistent and worth the purchase in my opinion. Wildcard, which are devices that may be as strong if not stronger than those in the performance category, but haven't been tested, some only sold in China or have questionable specs, and devices to avoid. You don't want to buy these. They guarantee low performance due to questionable specs or internal issues that completely corrupt gameplay. Before we get into the actual device portion of this video, I think it's important you guys know where I researched a mass amount of these devices from. For this, I used Kimovil. When a device is searched for, a variety of specs are available within the summary. Let me click, the Xiaomi 4 Pro for a good example of this. There we go. These include display, size, the processor, the Antutu score, which summarizes how strong the device processing is, more or less, gives it a score based on that, battery, camera, and even cellular data connection and Android version if you are into that. In addition, the website provides a key cost-effective score, which shows you how much bang you're getting for your buck, more or less, and a review loaded with the pros and cons of the said device. I recommend anyone researching a device to use this website as it was helpful in my own. Without further ado, let's get into the budget devices. These are devices under $400 USD, some of which being old but still strong and consistent phones and tablets, others being more modern phones released at a cheaper price. The first device on the budget list I have is the Samsung S21, specifically the North American model. A YouTuber named Janelle, the best female Fortnite mobile player in my opinion, has gameplay of this device, and it runs consistent 60 to 90 FPS. It is an older model of Samsung's main phone line, followed by the S22, S23, and S24 Ultra, which I may get into later. The processor that itself is the Snapdragon 888, with a V10 Antutu score of 68-7000, around that, and a battery life of 4000 mAh, which is a little low compared to some of the phones on this list, but it is what it is. This device still runs on the Android 14 processing system, which is a plus considering it is a tad older. Devices this old usually don't support up to recent software. On Amazon, you can find a refurbished model for $202. Last time I checked it was like $211. I guess $202 now. You could find a refurbished model for $202. If you want to buy it on Amazon, it's $399, though I recommend just getting the refurbished model. Both with the refurbished model being a solid deal in my opinion. More or less, if you're going to get it, get the refurbished model, and I definitely recommend this as a budget device. The second device, as you may know, is one I've previously used, the Samsung Tab S7. I have gameplay from previous seasons with the device on my channel, though there's a plethora of videos you can probably find just by searching Samsung Galaxy Tab S7 Fortnite Mobile gameplay. Like the S21, it is a older model of Samsung's flagship tablet series, the S7s, S8, S9, etc., followed by the S8 and the S9. The device uses a Snapdragon 865 processor, has a V8 Antutu score of 605,000, and a battery life of 8000 mAh. Refurbished versions of the tablet are selling for around $280 to $390. I personally recommend the device for playing Fortnite, but not content. Recording on the device set my FPS to around 60 to 70, and on native it was 70 to 80 in game, though I've noticed recording FPS has decreased with Chapter 5 gameplay. However, especially with the 120 FPS multiple accounts method, allegedly, the device can run about 90 at a solid rate in game, which isn't bad by any means. So if you want to play Fortnite on a tablet with solid performance while not recording, and 90 FPS being while not recording more or less, for an affordable price, the Tab S7 may be your bet. Next up, the OnePlus 10T. $258 on Amazon with a Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1 chip, 1.15 million V10 and Antutu score, and a 4800 mAh battery life. OnePlus devices have been somewhat consistent in the past, with users able to access 90 FPS on older devices. There should be 90 FPS FNM gameplay on OnePlus on YouTube somewhere, I believe it. It's a decent bet for a budget device. Take this with a grain of salt though. It's hard to get 120 on the device, as from what people have said, in specific a commentator named Winston, it is harder than normal, with more apps needing to be disabled than usual, and I'm pretty sure you also need a PC as well to do this process, to disable the apps in the first place. It's just really complicated and difficult for majority of the people who would want 120. Keep that in mind, as many who play Android allegedly rely on this method to boost FPS, and 120 basically more or less isn't an option unless you are willing to go through with that. Following the OnePlus, we say hello Moto, with the Motorola Edge Plus 2022, which is called in North America, and the Motorola Edge 30 Pro, which is called in Europe. I was recommended this device by Evo Gaming, who states it is one of the strongest devices using the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 processor. He has videos with the device on his YouTube, so this stands a tad empirical. As said before, that is the processor, which brings a 1 million, rounds to 1.1 million, and Antutu score to the table, with 4800 mAh battery. This device can be found in the States for $350, as the 8GB RAM 520GB model, if refurbished, can be found for $249. Really good deal for storage. I've yet to check for EU prices and availability, but presume it be a similar price, as this device can run a solid 70 to 90 FPS in-game from his gameplay from what I've seen, and I presume better while he is not recording. It seems like a solid deal, especially if found at 300 USD equivalent or less. In succession of the prior is the Poco X4 GT. This device is more questionable in terms of specs in my opinion, but I have heard good things about it from a multitude of FNM players. Like the other devices, there are probably an array of gameplay videos you can find with this device, though FPS may be lower in those due to the processing screen recording takes. It rocks the Dimensity 8100 chip, has an 820,000 Antutu score, 5080 mAh battery, and costs $400 for the 8GB RAM, 256GB model, as y'all can see here. From an outsider perspective, the battery seems like a plus, higher in comparison with other phone batteries. Despite this, in my opinion, the price is a bit high on this one, but to be fair, I'm judging off the model with more storage, and the phone with less, if found, is likely cheaper. Wrapping up the budget devices, we have another Motorola phone, the Edge 30 Fusion. I was recommended this device by Zephyr, who has played it and said to have gotten decent FPS. Unfortunately, gameplay of the device is scarce, but I will take his word for it here, as he's knowledgeable in the phone department from what I've seen. The device has a Snapdragon 888 Plus processor, 904,000 V10 and Antutu score, and a 4400 mAh battery. All specs decent for gaming. The phone comes to $279 as a refurbished device on Amazon, and is possible to buy new in Europe. Prices ranging from $250 to $300. As you can see right here. Forgot to click that. In terms of pricing and specs, this phone is a no-brainer and definitely something I'd look into. The only minus is no gameplay of the phone. Some devices may be stacked in the specs department, but not run Fortnite as well. Quick note before we move on to the next section, I actually did not do my research, and the last two sentences I said were virtually capped. Zephyr literally has a Fortnite mobile gameplay of the Edge 30 Fusion on his channel, though this is more or less the only gameplay. So if you want to see how it runs and make your decision for yourself, his gameplay is right here. It's time to get into the next category, which is performance phones and tablets. These are the devices that I can almost assure will run Fortnite well, especially with the 120 FPS method, wink wink, due to extremely strong specs, videos of gameplay on YouTube showing the powerful performance, and a proven track record of good performance for some of these device manufacturers. However, it's important to note that the price may be higher on these devices, especially more than the budget category. Good performance comes with a cost. Leading the section off, we have a phone I bet everyone expected, the RedMagic 9 Pro. It is easily the strongest device for F&M out at the moment, especially with the multiple accounts 120 FPS device method. The processor is a Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, strongest side in the market. The battery, a whooping 6,500 mAh, very high for phones, and the Antutu score, 2 million in V10. In the States, it is priced around $650, as you can see here, for the base model, coupled with 12GB RAM and 256GB storage, which I believe is a really good deal for what you're getting. For gameplay research, a YouTuber and TikToker some may already know, named Martos on Mobile, uses the phone, and it looks good, both in-game and creative, I'll say that. Out of all the phones within this video, I definitely recommend this one the most, and can almost ensure you won't deal with performance woes. Now, out of all the tablets in this video, I'd say the Samsung Tab S9 is the safest bet. It uses a Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 processor, the strongest known on a tablet, not including the WILDCARD you'll see later, and holds a 1.25 million Antutu score. This on V9 Antutu as well. I assume the V10 is higher. The battery life, I can vouch, is also a large plus. That 8,400 mAh battery lasts me about 4 to 5 hours on the native version of FN, and 3 to 4 hours on multiple accounts. The device, at the moment, can run both 90 and 120 well. With my gameplay, Real Reminisce, Lilgren, John F&M, Scarface, Preacher, and many more YouTubers' gameplay standing as proof. If you're looking for native performance, I use 90, and some of the others, allegedly, use 120 FPS, which runs really well on the device. The only minus with this device is in fights. Though it may be due to recent updates, my FPS personally drops a large amount in competitive level fights that require a lot of building, especially, emphasis on that, near POIs. This is multiplied in team game modes and endgames, so getting to a high level in terms of fighting, say Peterbot style keying, that was possible on the iPad Pro, but is still not possible on this tablet and pretty much any other Android tablet to my knowledge. Maybe it is for multi-accounts, but I haven't tried that in a while, so I don't know. The price for the 8GB, 8GB RAM, 128GB storage version is a bit hefty. $669 on Amazon, which for tablets is somewhat solid. Other than in-game fights and endgame, I'd say the device holds up well, especially if you plan to play the game for enjoyment, if you're okay with competing at a moderate level, and playing the placement where needed if you're a competitive player. Next up is a rather new but device of considerable quality, the Pad 6s Pro. About a month ago, it dropped exclusively in China. It runs on the same processor as the Samsung Tab S9, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2, and has a 10,000 mAh battery life, which should easily be enough for tournaments. The Antutu score available is V10 and comes in at 1.6 million. Pretty strong. I have not seen gameplay of this device in particular, but from what I've seen of the Pad 6 Pro, I'm confident it is good, though this of course is kind of speculation as we don't know for sure. Sam on Mobile has gameplay of 120 FPS on the Pad 6 Pro, and assuming this one is an improvement, it should be better than what he got with his own experience. If you want to see his full review on the Pad 6 Pro and thoughts on the tablet, search Sam on Mobile on YouTube and check this video in specific out. The price comes in at $593 off of a $587 now actually. $587 off of a Chinese-based market, trading Shenzhen, and around 650 to 750 USD on other markets shown, as you can see here, which is about average for high-performance tablets. It's important to point out getting this device will likely take a while, especially if you're in the States. EU, I don't know, but for the States, it'll take a while, as other China devices also take a while to be delivered because China is like 20 hours away. Once again, nobody has purchased the device yet to my knowledge, so take this take lightly salted. Following this device, we have another recently released, at the time of filming, newcomer. The OnePlus 12. Recently released, this device offers the strongest chip on the market, the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, and has a Antutu V10 score of a whopping 2.1 million. The battery, in my opinion, is questionable in comparison to the RedMagic 9 Pro being 5400 mAh, but as I don't have the device myself, I don't know how exactly long that lasts. The device may be optimized to drain battery slowly, who knows. A user in my Discord named Kringle recently purchased the device and says performance in game is good. 90 FPS consistent and dropping at lowest to 70 FPS in stacked 20 plus person and games. Unfortunately, as some OnePlus users may know, and as I said earlier in this video, getting 120 FPS is extremely difficult on this device, so seeing it at its maximum potential and performance is unlikely unless Epic adds 120 natively. However, even at 90, the device sounds significantly stronger than many offered. The price for this device is high, coming in at $800 USD for the 12GB RAM, 256GB storage model, but it's important to remember the device was recently released and this price should drop with time. Finally, for performance, we have the recently released, as of April 2024, beast of a device, the S24 Ultra. Specs are good. Snapdragon 8 Gen 3 as a processor, 1.81 million Antutu V10 score, and 5000 mAh battery. And Plankton Mobile Legend, second coming of Booga in my opinion, has videos of this device running 90 FPS on his channel, so if you want to see how exactly it runs, go check him out. Search up Plankton in YouTube. My biggest minus of the device is the price tag. $1,110 for 12GB RAM, 256GB storage is absurd in comparison to the other performance devices. But like the OnePlus 12, this device recently dropped. Prices should decrease over time, and the S24 Ultra should become increasingly affordable. It is also important that this device does not have the same specs as the S24, as you can see here, or S24 Plus. Both of these devices use an Exynos 2400 processor, which gives about 200,000 less on the Antutu score. Keep this in mind as it differs from other Samsung devices with the same hardware, regardless of the tablet, like the Tab S9. Now, for the spicy picante part of the video, the wildcard devices. The lot that I've picked out may be stronger than the performance devices and look stronger in terms of specs, but come with an aura of unknown. 4 of these devices are only sold in China, meaning shipping may be a challenge. Gameplay of these devices is also unheard of, extremely scarce on YouTube, and in China, as some of y'all may know, Fortnite Epic Games has ceased operations, so even China's social medias likely don't have Fortnite mobile-based gameplay. More or less, the devices are a true shot at the dark. High risk, high reward. Starting off this group, we have the Redmi K70 Pro. This phone comes with all the fixings. 8 Gen 3 processor, 2.25 million Antutu score, which I'm pretty sure is the highest in this whole entire video so far, and 5000 mAh battery life, though this last detail seems kinda questionable on a high power phone. The main issue is Fortnite Mobile on this device. The lone gameplay on YouTube that uses this phone and plays Fortnite Mobile has no FPS counter, so true performance of the device is unknown. For all it matters, the FPS may be capped at 60, potentially worse 30 on the native app, with multiple accounts virtually required for true performance. The device is also based in China, so it is harder to access and get through shipping. The cheapest price the devices comes at is found on Trading Shenzhen for $490, being the 12GB RAM, 256GB storage model. And if you want to roll the device dice, alia jacta est, This phone may be the best in the market going off of specs, but as said, Fortnite Mobile performance is virtually unknown and the 120 FPS method is likely needed. Next up, we have a phone from the creators of RedMagic, the Nubia Z50s Pro. The device uses the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 processor, has a V10 Antutu score of about 1.58 million, and a battery life of 5,100 mAh. On paper, the device should run well, made by RedMagic creators whilst having solid specs. However, the true performance of the device is unknown, as there is only a video of someone using the device for FNM on maximum graphics and 60 FPS, an outlier for most mobile users. The same idea from the K70 Pro apply, maximum performance unknown, but the price is interesting. The 12GB RAM, 1TB, yup, terabyte model costs $504 at lowest. $504. For users in the States, some of these phones can be shipped from a Mexican warehouse, closer than overseas in the China-based warehouses. However, all of these devices come from the same store, AliExpress. On Kimovil, as you can see, they have a 2-star rating based on 143,000 reviews. Extremely questionable when you are spending the amount of money you are. Once again, true dice roll, don't say I didn't warn you. This device, according to specs, is the true most powerful tablet, the Vivo Pad3 Pro. It was just released 2 weeks prior to this video's filming and rocks a Dimensity 9300, a V10 Antutu score of 2 million, and a whopping 11,500 mAh. What a long battery life. In comparison with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3, the 93000 is said to rival and even is seen as better in some comparisons. However, I've heard an influx of negative FNM based comments related to Dimensity chips, so be aware of that. To take a wild guess, what makes this the wild card? If you said anything along the lines of only ships in China and no Fortnite mobile gameplay, you'd be correct. The device is priced at $595, shipped from Giztob, which I'd take as a positive. Oops, did not mean to click that. I'd take it as a positive, as it has a 4-star rating, though a smaller sample size of reviewers, 1,738 reviewers only. On YouTube, there is literally no gameplay video at this time, not one without an FPS counter, not one on 60 FPS and max graphics, no video. So this purchase may be a shot in the dark. But with multiple accounts 120 FPS and a few optimization tweaks here and there, this device might be the best tablet. It could be the first that rivals the iPad Pro. Though that's a really large, really humongous speculation. When you hear this, I already know you're gonna go crazy at the idea. The RedMagic tablet. Yup, the same people that made the phones made a China exclusive tablet. However, it may underperform to expectation, running on a Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 processor, having a 1.1 million V9 Antutu score, which would be higher with V10, and 10,000 mAh battery life, the battery life being solid. Out of those 3 specs, the battery life, though, being the most eye-catching, says a lot. However, this device has gameplay with a content creator many know, Liducky the Gamer, making videos on it while playing FNM. It holds a Tab S9 level of consistency, and FPS even seems to be higher in games, extremely necessary in fights. However, the only price I could find of the tablet is on Giztob, $699 USD, giving you the 12GB RAM, 256GB storage model. Out of all the wildcards, I'd say this one is the least risky, but only Ducky's gameplay is available to present how the device runs. And the gameplay is allegedly 120 FPS gameplay. Without the 120 FPS method, the device may not run to expectation and may not have 90 FPS as native support, so keep that in mind. As our final device comes the Poco X6 Pro, which is the first and only non-China exclusive device in the wildcards. It uses the Dimensity 8300 processor, has a 1.32 million Antutu V10 score, and 5,000 mAh battery. First spec is comparable to the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 chip, and by Nano Review beats it in many endeavors. Poco also has a consistent track history with F&M, releasing high-quality phones for an affordable cost. The main toss-up with this device is the Dimensity 8300 chip. It is the only globally available device which has it, making the processor's track record unknown unless you buy the device. Dimensity chips are also seen as questionable, as I said earlier, 2 times earlier, by many F&M users. As a positive, the device does have a multitude of gameplay videos on YouTube, one even seeming to actually test the 120 FPS. So more F&M gameplay of the device is available. Its price is good. On Amazon, it costs $349 for the 8GB RAM, 256GB storage model, which is comparable to the budget prices. Like the RedMagic tablet, this device is less of a risk, but be wary of the Dimensity chip if what Dimensity device F&M players are saying is true. Now, for the last section, avoid. Do not buy these devices if you are looking for an enjoyable experience and decent quality game performance. They either have extremely low quality specs, making it hard to run the game, or an internal issue within the device that absolutely corrupts performance. I've been asked about these devices in my comment section actually, so this should be interesting. As the first device I'd recommend to avoid, we have the Samsung Tab S8. Wish I could have gasped better, but pollen happens, you know? This may come as a shock to some, especially those trying to buy the device, since I recommended the S7 and S9. The device's specs look normal. 8 Gen 1 processor, 1.03 million on Antutu score, 8000 mAh battery. What makes it bad? This is where the heating issues of the device come into play. From many Tab S8 users, previously Plankton and Woof, who some of y'all may know, and now Pringle, I've heard that when the device gets warm, performance drastically decreases due to an internal cooling issue and thermal throttling, making what should be consistent 90 FPS based on specs, or a little lower, hard to maintain. Some users believe it is actually worse than the Tab S7, just for this component. As a recommendation, I'd avoid the device no matter how desirable that $418 price looks. Next up, we have the Tab A series, with the A, in my opinion, standing for arse. To see a good example, let's look at the most recent device, the Tab A9. It is priced at $146, but do not let that fool you. It runs on a Helio G99 processor, comparable to the Snapdragon 695, has a 350,000 V9 Antutu score, and 5100 mAh battery, which compared to the other tablets is extremely low. Keep in mind this is the best tablet available out of this series, and it can barely compete with devices created 4 to 5, maybe longer, years ago. Though that may seem like a good deal for a device, $149, oh my gosh, so cool! Simply getting one of the budget devices for a slightly higher price ensures better performance, specs, and gameplay versus any A-series device for a similar price. Finally, also from Samsung, we have the FE devices. The main thing with this one, do not be fooled. These in no way have the same specs as the main devices, but rather are based off of them as a more affordable version. As an example, the Tab S9 FE has a Exynos 1380 processor, which is comparable to a Snapdragon 778G, has a V9 Antutu score of 509,000 and a battery of 800 mAh. As you can see, when compared to the Tab S9, these specs are significantly worse in terms of processing, and for $349, you can buy better. Even in terms of tablets, the Tab S7 clears this device, and it was released almost 4 years ago. Your Hertz is also capped at 90, so seeing 120 FPS is literally impossible on this device, more or less, unlike its stronger counterpart. Keep in mind, this is the strongest FE tablet. Imagine what other FE tablets and phones performance looks like. And with that, we are at the end of the video. Apologies to my non-American viewers, as I wasn't able to show prices in terms of some devices, especially if you're in the Asia region or Australia region. That was pretty much unheard of on that website. but I hope you nevertheless benefited from the video and have new devices to look into. If I missed any devices or said something false about a device, especially that second part, let me know in the comments. The last thing I want to do is spread untrue information, especially with a big monetary purchase like this. Out of curiosity, are there any devices you guys want me to try out from that list or in general as well? I need a new phone anyways and am contemplating coming to the Droid side. Once again, let me know in the comments. Signing off, this was a fun video to research and make, and I'm glad I could put it out. Once again, let me know if there's anything I missed. Peace out. Peace.